to come.
We're making our playoff push. The Blitzing Birds try to clinch the NFC East. Would they end the G-Men jinx and avoid Strahan's wrath? The Steel Curtain tries to stop the Bungles in OT, while the Cowboys try to shock the Niners in Big D. Can anyone stop Michael? Chicago continues to roll through the NFC Norris. Could the Vikes' new QB win in Lambeau? Miami can clinch a playoff berth at home. Well, all the Jets had to do was beat the Bills. Easy enough, right? So don't flip up en route to the postseason. Next on NFL Primetime.
NFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite. Primetime is Miller time. And now, here's your host, Chris Berman.
Wow, the final Primetime of calendar year 2001. And what, great finishes, some surprising ones. And yes, when we thought Tom Jackson, along with Chris Berman, that everything was decided, not so fast. We get everything done in the NFC, but we have Trent Dilfer making the champs Ravens sweat.
I said this morning that I thought these last couple of weeks of the season would be a wild ride. I think that today qualifies.
And even though the second to last Sunday of the season, Tommy, it was more determined than usual. However, there's seeding to come, and in the AFC, there's a division. We're going to start the day with the AFC East because three teams are vying for the title. Idle New England, Miami at home to Atlanta, and the Jets at home to Buffalo. So here we go. Let's start with Miami. They're 5-1 at home, a much better team at home. They lost 2 in a row. They're playing Atlanta. Dave wants that. Sees Jay Fiedler, not his fault, but pass tip into the hands of Ray Buchanan from Louisville. Of course, Fiedler's from Dartmouth. And it's going to look at Ray Buchanan. It sets up a touchdown, eventually 7-0 Atlanta early. Later in the first, Chris Chandler returns the favorite Brock Marion. Remember, he had the big game on the Monday night. He's gone. 26 yards, so 2 defensive plays set up. Well, one is an actual score, 7-7. Arturo Freeman hits Chandler second quarter. Chandler 400 yards last week. Injures his right elbow. He would not return. Meanwhile, for Miami, it's Fiedler. And one youngster with some wheels is Travis Minor. He's got major speed, Tom. 17 yards, 14-7 Miami. Now it gets a little strange. Fiedler, 20 seconds left in the half to Chris Chambers to the one, but he fumbles. Oh, wait a minute. The officials rule what?
This is in the last 20 seconds of the game. They don't rule that it's a fumble. They rule that he was down by contact, but you clearly see on the replay, the ball was out, and there is Coach Reeves asking for a replay.
Well, he can't get it because the last 2 minutes, it's the officials. They should have reviewed it. They didn't, and wouldn't you know, the next play's a Miami touchdown. Field it against it, 21-7. Now second half. Michael Vick to Bob's sister Christian for an apparent touchdown. Reeves challenges. But what?
Well, this one was not overruled. This was ruled incomplete initially. They didn't see conclusive evidence to change that call. And upset again.
Well, but that one they at least reviewed out for his challenge, and wouldn't you know it, 4th and goal, Zach Thomas stops Maurice Smith, and the Dolphins defense preserves a 21-7 lead. You want to see the athleticism of Michael Vick. Watch him avoid guys, and then look.
Yeah, and I never ran 4-1 and didn't know anyone who ran 4-1, but that's what it looks like right there.
Unbelievable 22-yard pickup. Same drive on a second down. But Michael Vick is he's like an untamed colt. You're going to get unbelievably great plays, but then you're going to get throws like this. And Patrick Surtain has the ball for Miami. Big play Dolphin defense until Brian Finneran begin again. Fumble. Bob Whitfield. And this is the definition of rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. There it is. There's your definition, but it's Falcons ball. So what does Vick do? Watch this throw as he scrambles and oh my goodness, the Sean Jefferson moving on up down to the 1. 1st and goal. Vick to Derek Rackley for the touchdown. So all of a sudden it's a 21-14 game. Falcons have stopped him. Just over 5 to go. Vick. Zing! Is he Randy Johnson or what? 34 yards to Terrence Mathis. 2 minutes to go. Vick has got a blocker, but a nice play by Lorenzo Bromell, shedding a tackler and stopping Vick. 3rd and goal, minute 15 to go. Bob's sister Christian, motor in. Zach Thomas stops him short, or was he?
Well, here you're going to see the ball cross the plane, but certainly a question as to where Christian's legs were, whether his knee was down.
They reviewed it, said inconclusive, and wouldn't you know it, on fourth down, the defense holds Dan Reeves. You can boil an egg on his head right there, and the Dolphins win 21-14, and in the process, they clinch a playoff berth with their 10th win of the year. More on the Falcons side in a moment, but give Miami the props. They're 6-1 at home with a home game left.
Well, they're a team that lives by their defense. They live by the fact that they have to make a few big plays offensively, but I thought the defense today really came to the forefront, made some plays for them, got the ball in the end zone for them, gave them that win.
That's absolutely what Miami is based on, and they won it. So now Miami in. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Jets were home against 2 in Buffalo, snowing all week long in Buffalo, 7 feet and still snowing. Herman Edwards Jets win, and they're in, and their best weapon is Curtis, my favorite, Martin. 6-0 lead, and this is their longest play from scrimmage all year, 47 yards. So it looks like the Jets are going to roll the Bills. The next play, Vinny Testaverde to Kevin Swain. The Bills have good corners. We heard Bill Parcells talk about him earlier today, Tom. Nate Clements wins the battle, makes a big interception.
Yeah, Nate Clements going to be outstanding. Here you see Peerless Price coming around. On the reverse, Alex Van Pelt going to get out in front. Very Doug Flutie-like when we think about getting into the blocking scheme, and give him a nice gain downfield. 28 yards for Peerless
and
Price.
And double reverse Price and Price with Van Pelt blocking. He's better at this, throwing. That's a nice, you know what? The Bills score points with Alex Van Pelt. Can we just say it? And it's 14-6. Now the Jets down 14-9. Testaverde rolls out to Curtis Martin under 4 minutes to go, 14 yards on 4th and 2. At 3rd and 17, they got 14 yards, and your second best weapon is Wayne Corbett. You do it 5 yards, it's a first down. Down 14-9, it's Martin. Over the 40, 9 yards. 3 plays later, Bill 35. Testaverde, screen. And one of the Bills left on the roster who remembers how to circle the wagons. It's Phil Hansen, who not only makes the play, but throws in a stiff arm.
Yeah, Phil Hansen been making plays for the Bills for a long time. Great job tipping the ball with his left hand. You see Vinny trying to get the ball out. And then at the end, Phil Hansen, great job protecting the football, get down on the ground.
And then those Bills special teams. Oh, my goodness, a punt would have pinned the Jets deep. But Brian Moorman, it's a terrible snap. He tries to swing at it with his foot, and the Jets are in business, just down by 5. Testaverde to Martin, 3 yards out of bounds. Next play at the Bills 38. You see the clock, 26 seconds. Testaverde. Lavernius Coles. He makes the catch, then they spike the ball. So they have a chance to talk about it at the 24. 13 seconds left with no timeouts. Oh, my goodness, this better score. It has no chance to score. Martin is tackled. Tick, 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 tick. They actually get this playoff, although no one knows it, and it has no chance. The New York Jets, on a throw across the middle that had no shot, end up, after the Bills give them a gift and another chance, losing to Buffalo 14-9. So the Jets have to wait for another day to try to get in. One thing to say about, well, we'll say Buffalo in a moment, but the issue of the Jets, a puzzling finish, redshirt Vinny.
All I'm going to say is that the play came in from the sideline. We executed it to the best we could. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say what if, because then it looks like, you know, that I should be calling the plays, and whatever play came in was wrong.
I didn't want to have to hear about anybody pointing fingers at anybody and trying to blame it on this guy or that guy. Was all it starts with me.
If you continue to stay on the edge and play on the edge, hey, it's going to work out sometimes, but sometimes it's not. Today it didn't. You know, what's frustrating is that we know that we're a better team. But yet, like I said, at the end of the day, you are what you are.
Well, a couple of realists there. Curtis Martin saying all those one-point games, all those close games, look what can happen. Herman Edwards said, I'm the head coach, I take responsibility. Yes. Not everybody did. Hey, they lost a divisional game to a very game opponent. The Jets may find themselves find themselves the odd man out in the playoffs. A stunning loss for them.
Boomer, we talk about the fine line that the Jets tend to walk every single weekend in the NFL, and I think we saw that again this week. And certainly when you look at the last play, Vinny Testaverde has to know that you can't throw the ball, regardless of where the play came from, whether it comes from the sideline, whether you made an adjustment at the line of scrimmage. 13 seconds left on the clock gives you an opportunity to run at least 2 and maybe 3 plays. You throw the ball into the end zone, it's either incomplete or you get a score, one or the other.
I know the Bills aren't the story, but it is nice for those of us that follow pro football to see a team long out of it.
That's
a
correct.
team with 7 feet of snow, have 3 practices where no one missed any practices up there. They come down and then play a game like that that can affect the division in which they're long out of it. And actually, not every team plays like that.
And Herman Edwards' team has shown great character. They're a reflection of him. We'll see if they can do this now and get themselves into the playoffs.
Very quickly, Tom, in my opinion, and I think you agree with me, this last 2 minutes of each half, where it goes upstairs to like Oz, some guy behind the booth, the decision-making, not on when they look at the play, I think they do a good job there, but on what to review, on what not, I would get rid of it. I would give the teams an extra challenge. I would say if your challenge is correct, you get to keep that challenge. I do not like this last 2 minutes. It doesn't work.
There's something that doesn't feel right about coaches having the ability to make decisions and challenge for 56 minutes of a football game, but the 4 most important minutes of a game, you don't get to make a challenge.
And it kind of led to confusion. We've seen it all year. That's the weakest part of this replay system, the decisions. Who makes it, when to make it, these last 2 minutes? All right, decision in Pittsburgh is, can we clinch home field throughout the playoffs? Well, we're playing Cincinnati. It's going to be easy, right, for Bill Cowher? I mean, even though no Jerome Bettis, I mean, it's the Bengals. They're 2-10 after a 2-0 start. And Cordell Stewart, MVP candidate, Plexico Bird, 28 yards. It's 14-0 Pittsburgh. It's going to be a laugher. Until holder Josh Miller fumbles a snap on a field goal. Robert Bean picks it up. Tommy, the lateral to Brian Simmons. These are the Bengals?
Yeah, well, I think defensively, I think they've been a pretty good ball club all year. A lot of those defensive players are on their special teams units.
Brian Simmons touchdown. It's 14-7. Then a little swing to Stewart to Chris Fulma to Mafala. He's a bad Mafala.
Shut your mouth.
I'm talking about Mafala.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
23-10 as that play gives the Bengals the shaft. Then Chris Brown extra point. Don't tell me he missed another extra point. Well, it's 23-10. Who cares, right? 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's still 23-10. Stewart's pass tipped by Raynard Wilson. Justin Smith intercepts it just in time. Returns it to the 32. So on that possession, John Kitna, Ron Dugans. Oh, my goodness. It's a touchdown. 6 yards. 23-17. Ensuing onside kick by Neil Rackers. Gets a high hop. Pittsburgh hat. What? Who has the ball, Tom?
You take another look at this play from the front side. You're going to see Bobby Shaw clearly get over the ball, pull it underneath his chest, and tuck it. Real Johnson somehow managed to get the ball away. What we know, as I know as a former NFL player, ball changed hands about 5 times underneath the pile.
But here's the deal. The Bengals have the ball down 6, and it's getting into T.J. Houshmandzadeh. You say Houshmandzadeh, I say Houshmandzadeh, but it's a play down to the 6-yard line. Under a minute to go, 4th and goal from the 6. Last chance, Bengals. John Kitna. Corey Dillon, incomplete. But wait a minute. Oh, they want a flag, and they get a flag. Automatic first down, holding in the end zone after the Bengals have a big personal foul to put it back to the 18. Actually gave them more room. Kitna, Danny Farmer. The Farmer's in the dell. It's a touchdown. 23-all. What a play. That's a great throw.
Yeah, Farmer's going to get man coverage here, run the corner route. You see the delivery by Kitna. Their ball put up way high in the air. Farmer, a great job of focusing and bringing it down for a score.
And so the Bengals are going to win. Neil Rackers on with the extra point. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? The Bengals blow the extra point. What's wrong with that end of the field? It looks a little shaky, but so what? Steelers cannot believe it, and so now we go to overtime. Steelers get the toss, go nowhere punt. Josh Miller does a great job, and look at the special teams. And I think at this point, Pittsburgh figures they're going to win on a safety in overtime. It's at the 1 line. And the Bengals go right out of their own end zone to Houshmandzadeh. He Houshmandzadehs it 9 yards. Next play. John Kitna would have a 400-yard day, but on this one, he gives it to Brandon Bennett. It's not Corey Dillon. These are the Steelers who had the Bengals backed up to the 1-2 line. Then, Kitna to Farmer, that Kitna-Farmer combination coming into light here the last week of 2001. Neil Rackers has kicked into this net for like 20 minutes, I'm telling you. On 3rd and 7, Cowler freezes him after about a 2-minute wait, which seemed eternity. Rackers, it's no. Oh, yes! Look at him just draw it in. He drew it in. And the Bengals have upset the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've beaten the Ravens, they've beaten the Steelers, and they win it by the count of 26-23. Steelers, for the moment, lose a chance to clinch home field, but it gives Cincy the nod for the defensive plays, but maybe it's not so bad for Pittsburgh.
Good performance by the Bengals, but Pittsburgh maybe needed a wake-up call before they go into the playoffs. This was it for them, and I think they still have to worry about Chris Brown, their kicker.
Yes, they do. As we go inside the numbers, we'll look closer at the Bengals win over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And against the Steelers on Sunday in the previous 7 games, I mean, nowhere, just 6 touchdowns. But on this day, they had 3 touchdowns, and they won the game. You know what? They have something to remember 2001 by. A nice start and a nice finish to the calendar year.
And realize, even though the Steelers look like they got a little worn down, the Bengals ran almost 100 offensive plays today, so maybe that defense had reason to be a little bit worn down at the end of the game.
Inside the Numbers is brought to you by Visa. It's everywhere NFL fans want to be.
When we return, hey, plays for a team subpar, but nothing. Hey, to the Panthers. They won in the summer, but they're at home against Arizona. And what was David Boston? Was he actually spraying? Must have been deodorant, Tom. Meanwhile, Ronald McKinnon scoops up a fumble by Richard Hundley. Oh, those tricky Panthers. They fumble on the second play from scrimmage, and Arizona leads 7-0. Chris Winkie to Isaac Bird, and I want you to watch Pat Tillman lower the boom. Boom! Right there.
It's a tremendous hit by Pat Tillman. He launched himself into Isaac Bird, and fortunately, Isaac Bird was able to get up and walk off the field.
And now for David Boston. Jake Plummer and David Boston, boy, if they hooked up, Boston probably a Pro Bowl berth as a result. 61 yards there at 17-0. And then, please come to Boston in the springtime. Plummer spraying passes to Boston. And the Cardinals win 30-7, and now Carolina, after 1 win, has tied a record for 14 straight losses. They could break it next week. No team has lost 15 in a row ever. They're at home next week against the Patriots. As we move on to the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Mark Brunell still playing hurt, but you got to like the way Jacksonville is finishing things out. They still have a chance at 500. They're at home against the Chiefs. But Dwayne Clemens causes a fumble. Derek Ransom recovers it, holds up the Jaguars for Ransom, leads to a touchdown, 7-0.
Yeah, and the most dangerous receiver on the field, Tony Gonzalez, goes in motion, down on the goal line, fakes a block, goes out. We're seeing a lot of this guys going in motion, and nobody on the defensive side of the field notices it.
Then they notice this, Tom, the Jags, Gary Walker, Casey Weigman. That's going to get you tossed out of the game. And that, guess what? Tom's not very happy. Coughlin. He's not happy when Tony Gonzalez scored a touchdown 12 yards from Trent Green, and then saying he wants to look at the NBA, but warming up with the jump shot. 27-17 Kansas City. Mark Brunell, Keenan McCardell, fourth quarter, 20 yards. It's a 3-point game, 27-24. Now 30-26. 6 seconds to go. Brunell evades a rusher. William belly up to the Barty, breaks it up and saves the win for the Chiefs. Dick, don't hurt yourself. He's excited the way they're finishing, and the Chiefs will beat the Jaguars 30-26. And Kansas City actually will play a role in the playoff berth. More on that in a moment as they finish at Seattle next week.
And I think both Tom Coughlin and Dick Vermeil can be pretty proud of the way their teams have played of late, where you see the effort.
And now, the Browns and the Titans. Tennessee's had a curious year. Just playing different sorts of games than we would think in the AFC Blackjack division. Nobody's stuck. at 17, Tom. They didn't even stick at 34. Air McNair to Kevin Dyson. And it's a pretty, fooled everybody. Play action fooled the cameraman. It's 40-yard touchdown. Eddie George with his team up by 7, running in the shadows of love. George 130 yards, and the Titans lead the Browns 38-24. But Tim Couch and Cleveland had their biggest offensive day of the year. Couch to Quincy Morgan, who was his only catch, but boy, did he make it count. 78 yards, setting up a Jamel White touchdown, 2-yard run. Couch, 336 in the air. And here's the tying touchdown. Couch to Kevin Johnson. I like what he has to offer for Cleveland. And after they tie it at 38, Phil Dawson, 44-yard field goal. Good. Bottoms up for the Browns as they win at Tennessee. 41-38. Cleveland and Tennessee each hoping for a 500 finish.
Yeah, both of these teams will be heard from next year.
When we return, we will hear from the Chicago Bears plenty more this year. Could the Lions upset the Bears?
Miller Lite.
The Chicago Bears knocked the Lions out of the playoffs in the Silverdome last year. This time, Dick Duran already in the playoffs, hoping that they can still win the NFC North, and maybe Detroit wants to return the favorite, Jim Miller. Jim Miller going downfield. He does it against the Bucs, and what? Now the Lions is Dwayne Bates.
Add the Lions to the deep list.
And then Miller to Dwayne Bates. It's Bates Motel. He's a psycho. And it's 7-0 Chicago.
Yeah, we take another look at this. Bates is going to run the little skinny post and get inside of Chidi Awoma. And Miller will hit him in rhythm for the touchdown. Awoma.
You have a bad Awoma? What did you forget to use deodorant?
It's a nice Awoma.
Bad Awoma, when you forget to use the deodorant. Miller to Marty Booker. This smells nice. 44 yards down to the 22. Then look at the Bears deep game. Miller to David Terrell. 20 yards. 14-0 Chicago. Remember, McMahon didn't start for Detroit. It was Ty Detmer. Bears get 2 touchdowns in the first quarter today. They had none in the 21 games before that. This is a team that's 12-3. Oh, those tricky Lions. Lamont Warren on the halfback option, picked off by Mike Brown. And then look at Mike. You think he's an Ernest Gibbons fan from?
Louisville.
The electric slide. Ty Detmer, the last time we saw him play for Detroit, he was intercepted 7 times by Cleveland. This time he was sacked 6 times by Chicago. Roosevelt Colvin and Boone and Brown. But don't forget, it wasn't only sacks. There were some interceptions too. Detmer hit. I was a play ahead of myself. There's a blitz by Brown. Here it is. And Tommy, as the defender, you love to see the quarterback hitting the ball wobble, and Walt Harris makes him pay.
Yeah, and you saw Detmer just disappear right there under the pass rush. He never actually saw the pick.
The Chicago Bears have won for the 12th time. They pitch a shutout in Detroit, 24-0. They're still, we'll talk playoffs. They haven't won the division yet, but they even could be the #1 seed. The sky's the limit for them.
And if they open up the offense, they will be quite a threat when they get to the playoffs.
6 times since the merger, the Niners and the Cowboys have met in the NFC Championship game, 3 times in the 90s. Emmitt Smith, one of 7 players left on the 2 rosters that remembers. He begins the day by becoming only the 2nd player joining Sweetness to pass 16,000 yards. And then, you think Emmitt sees the Niners and says, oh, I remember these days, Tom, 20 yards.
I think the whole Dallas Cowboy team remembers, Emmitt Smith and offensive line included.
San Francisco did lead 14-10 at the half until Quincy Carter on the rollout. Is he in? Touchdown first, but Steve Mariucci, look, don't be confused that the flag is the same color as his jacket. Total, the bull. I want a replay.
Yeah, and Mooch is going to challenge this. We'll take another look at it as well. You're going to see that Quincy Carter right here, his elbow is going to hit the turf right there just before the ball gets in. That challenge was upheld, was no touchdown.
But the next play, Carter says, okay, you're going to make me do it again. He scores for a touchdown, kind of. Although Mooch was thinking about challenging, did not.
Well, he didn't challenge this, but you can see it never looks like the ball crosses the plane, although the refs may not have seen conclusive evidence to change that call had Mooch challenged. 17-14 Dallas, 3rd quarter. Ball near midfield, and Quincy Carter stumbles.
But Joey Galloway, we haven't heard much from him in 2 years, but here's a bomb of 47 yards, and Dallas leads at 24-14. Minute 8 to go, Dallas up 27-14. Terry Jackson blocks a punt. Jimmy Williams recovers. Can the Niners get a miracle? Well, you need 2 scores. First of all, you need the first one. Jeff Garcia says okay. To J.J. Stokes, touchdown, 27-21. But then you need the onside kick. Kick going to the right, and the good hands people for the Cowboys eventually recover it. And in a day that Quincy Carter threw for 241, but Emmett ran for 126. He now has 944. He's probably going to get 1,000. Dallas trading for Dave Campbell at the end of the year, upsetting San Francisco 27-21.
And in a year when the Cowboys have struggled as they have to find their offense, what a tribute to Emmitt Smith, the way he's hung with things and now going over 16,000 yards.
And the Niners rush defense not up to par on this game. When we return, the Packers at home against the Vikings at Lambeau. Brett Favre involved in all ways. Rams, Colts. You think there were some points here? You think Marshall was excited? Talented New Orleans Saints, Ricky Williams and company at home against the Washington Redskins. On the frozen Thunder Lambeau Field, Brett Favre, 64-10 as a starter at home. And the question would be, is it too cold to play for Randy Moss? But who knows? Spurgeon Wynn, his second NFL start. Hello, says Jim Father Flanagan. Wynn getting up and, oh, you know, I like it inside better. It's frozen tundra here. Donald Duke and the driver gets help from Favre. Look at Brett right there. Spring driver for the 31 yards. 7-3 pack.
Yeah, you got to see things coming at you. We're going to spot shadow Talent Sawyer here on the end of the line. He's going to move up the football field, stay as deep as the ball, see what's coming at you, and then look at Brett Favre get out front as only Brett Favre can do and really throw a block. That's not just getting in the way, that's throwing a block.
Like a Spurgeon, starting for the second time. Picked off by Bernardo Harris. Sorry, Madonna. Leads to a Ryan Longwell field. I don't apologize to Madonna often. I just did. 10-6. Back. 2 catches, 10 yards. Randy Moss not happy. Vikings, though, I give the Vikings credit. They kept the Packers at bay. And when Byron Chamberlain catches this from Spurgeon Wynn, it's a 13-10 Minnesota lead on a 47-yard touchdown. And then Brett Favre. Did we have any doubt, really?
Well, when it comes down to the fourth quarter of a football game, what other quarterback would you rather have? There he hits Bill Schrader for 12 yards and a first down. Comes back 3 plays later again and finds Antonio Freeman. Get both feet down on the sideline. Another gain of 19 yards.
And then he looks for he and Bubba Franks are becoming an item this year. 20 yards down to the 4, Tommy, which sets up the run game lead block. A good one, Henderson. And it's Amon Green. 4-yard touchdown, a 79-yard drive. Puts the Packers up 17-13. And then Mike McKenzie, one of the McKenzie brothers, takes off. Hugh Holzer, 38 yards. Touchdown. 24-13. The Pack still alive to win the Norris. They trail the Bears by a game, but they can still win the Norris. And they beat Minnesota 24-13. Vikings defensively playing better.
Yeah, and the numbers certainly weren't great for the Green Bay Packers, either with Amon running or Brett throwing the football. But again, it's the mystique of Lambeau Field. They very seldom lose there.
Both the Packers and Vikings have important games next week. The Vikings can affect the Ravens' chances. Marshall Faulk 3 years ago traded from the Colts to the Rams. A 1-yard run early puts him up 7-0 against Indy in St. Louis. Kurt Warner to Marshall, 11 yards. And then why don't we let Marshall carry? He said there was no big deal playing his old team. Well, maybe the message never got to Mike Martz and the boys calling the plays because it was Marshall Faulk for 8. And then go ahead, Tom.
Marshall.
12 yards out of the 34. And then what do you think? A pitch to
Marshall.
6 yards for Marshall Faulk. And then, oh, he can make the circus plays as the greatest show, speaking of circus, can do. Marshall Faulk makes the one-handed grab. Take another look.
Yeah, and this isn't a one-handed grab where you put the other hand on the football. Marshall Faulk, ball thrown behind him by Kurt Warner, spins around, grabs it with his right hand. never touches it with the left and continues upfield.
And now from the 14-yard line, the same drive in the second quarter begins. It's
Marshall.
down to the 4-yard line, 10 yards, and then why don't we just let him finish it up? Marshall. All 10 plays on this drive. Marshall Faulk, 77 yards, 14-7, St. Louis. With Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning in the building, you knew you could have some fun. Play action, and the big weapon is going to be Marvin Harrison between 3 defenders, really, 36 yards. Setting up just like his daddy did. Peyton bootlegs in, and we're tied at 14. Peyton Manning, in a dismal year, still trying to make things happen. But then, swing pass to Marshall Faulk. Look out! Whatever the view, it's a touchdown. Upside down, sideways, 28-14. Now, before the game, we heard...
Hey, Dad, what up, ESPN? Chris Berman. Tommy the Gun Jackson. What's up, baby? Big game, man. What up?
I tell you what up, Torrey Holt. You up. Ball up. You up. 6 up. Touchdown. Warner. Holt. Touchdown, 35-14. At what up?
If anything has happened during the course of this season, I think that Kurt Warner has become more accurate as the season has gone on. That ball could not be dropped by Torrey Holt.
Unbelievable. And then why not finish it up with
Marshall.
4 touchdowns for Marshall Faulk. Hello, the St. Louis Rams beat the Colts 42-17. And now the St. Louis Rams, who have a home game next week, have scored 472 points. They're 24 touchdowns shy of another 500-point season. Afterwards, Marshall Faulk with Ed Werder.
We had some things go wrong last year, but you know, it's all fixed now. And as a team, you know, we feel pretty confident about ourselves. But at the same time, we know we got to continue to work hard and plug away at it.
You downplayed the emotional thoughts and feelings you may have had playing your former team, but was there a certain extra satisfaction you got out of your performance today?
Not at all. You know, I just came out and just wanted to have a typical game. You know, and within the game plan, you know, things went that way. No added, nothing. Just a good feeling today to win.
All right, Marshall. Thanks very much. Back to you, Boomer.
All right, Ed. All right, Marshall. You know, he said all the right things there.
Yes,
no question about it. By the way, he looks like he's doing the right thing. The Rams have won the West. Haven't assured the #1 seed yet, but they have won the West with this win. And, Tommy, they have scored, we said 472, 212 more points for than allowed. So they are the most complete team that we have in football.
Yes, there was never any question about what they were offensively. I think defensively, they've come such a long way this year. They're going to be one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. I think especially in terms of their rush defense, where they really needed to improve, and they have Aeneas Williams as a great leader in their defensive backfield. They have the best player in football in Marshall Faulk, a guy who is dependable not only out in the field, but he's a guy who's most dependable when you get down in the red zone where it's hardest to score. They're going to be hard to stop. They're going to be hard to stop.
And I like watching Mike Martz in the laboratory. I wonder if he's up late. You know, it's like the Monster Mash. I was working in the lab late one night. I mean, he's just fun to watch. Sometimes is it politically correct? Not necessarily. But boy, are they fun to watch. And we return. The Chargers trying in their final game, trying to snap a long losing streak, and the Raiders meet their old foes, the Broncos.
Right.
The Seattle Seahawks, with Baltimore's loss on Saturday night, suddenly alive, and Mike Riley, his team's last game. The reports are he's going to be out this week. He and Doug Flutie trying to stop it again. Losing to Trent Dilfer, who is 2-0 as a Seattle starter. More on that in a moment. He gets the start, and he quickly, with the score 16-14, he threw some beautiful balls. This one to James Williams for a touchdown. 2-point conversion, good 3 touchdowns for Trent Dilfer, 22-16 Seattle. Doug Flutie, Curtis Conway, 2.5 minutes to go. Big first down, San Diego with the score 22-19. Steve Christie, 36-yard field goal, good. We're tied at 22. Now with 20 seconds to go, it's about to go to overtime. Charlie Rogers, and he's tackled with time left on the clock. 6 seconds. Ryan Lindell, good from 54 yards out. Riley, look at the homer, can't believe it. Mike Riley, a good guy, one of the best guys we've met. And the Chargers finished with 9 straight losses, and Seattle, with their win, remain alive. They have a home game against Kansas City next week. Trent Dilfer is now 3-0 for the Seahawks, 11-1 last year for Baltimore, won his last 5 for Tampa Bay. Hello! Last 20 starts, 19-1, including the Super Bowl. Yikes! Meanwhile, Raiders at Broncos. Broncos trying to salvage their season. Mike Shanahan always has the number of the Raiders, although John Gruden's Raiders snapped the 7-game losing streak to the Broncos earlier this year. Rich Gannon to Jerry Rice, 29 yards. Rice over 1,000 yards 13 times in his career, extending his record. Raiders down 6-3. Broncos. Tommy, where's the pass?
Well, they only rushed 2 people, so they dropped 9 into coverage. Gave Gannon too much time to look at the field down in the red zone.
Touchdown to Charlie Garner. It's 10-6 for Gruden. There it is. Lead at 17-13, 10 minutes to go. Fourth quarter. Brian Greasy, Rod Smith. Touchdown Denver. They lead 20-17. Smith breaks the franchise record for catches in a season. Raiders trying to come back. Gannon lobs. Delta Dawn. Delta O'Neal had that 4-pick game earlier this year. He makes the interception. Gannon, Gruden saying we want another shot. Down 23-17. That may not all they've been saying. 4th and 2, 31 seconds left. Gannon to Tim Brown for a first down. Gannon to Jerry Rice. Just short of a first down with 22 seconds to go. 2nd and 1. Gannon incomplete in the end zone for Timmy Brown. 3rd down, down 23-17. Gannon. Eric Brown breaks up the pass intended for Roland Williams. 7 seconds left. Last play. Gannon. Scrambling. Kenoy Kennedy ends it. And so Mike Shanahan, 12-2 lifetime against his former team, the Raiders. And obviously, he's won 8 of the last 9. Denver really slips a Mickey to Oakland, beating him 23-17.
And what a day that Gannon had throwing the football, but again, you see the lack of support of the running game for the Raiders. They don't have the balance.
All right, let's explain all this now. Pittsburgh is now the #1 seed. Believe it or not, if New England wins next week, they win the East, and they would be the #2 seed. If they lose and Miami wins, they win the East, they're the 2 seed. Oakland is probably booted the bye. They're probably going to be the 3rd seed. Baltimore, Jets, Seattle alive. If Baltimore and the Jets lose, if it's a 3-way tie at 9-7, the Jets are the odd team out. Isn't it odd that Trent Dilfer might control the fate of his team that he led to the Super Bowl last year, the Baltimore Ravens? Isn't it odd? When we return, the game for the Skins. He's a 1,000-yard rusher again. Bottom of the hour, Skins at Saints. Sunday Night Football. Stay tuned. Rudy Giuliani, final days, hoping to help his Giants, who are 2 back with 2 to go in the NFC East. He's hugging Jim Fossil, said, hey, if you win at Philadelphia against Andy Reid's Eagles, you can get to the playoffs. Giants of the ball first, and then Philadelphia opening play. Just a guess, they're going to go to Chad Lewis. What a good play call by Andy Reid. Finding the Pro Bowl tight end of a year ago, Chad Lewis, and it's a big hit, 31 yards, Tom. So you know what? It's so good. We're going to find Lewis again. 6 for 6 on the drive. McNabb. Most of them to Chad Lewis. 7-0 Philly. What a well-conceived drive.
Yeah, and Michael Strahan on the defensive side of the ball always seems to dominate John Runyon, and did here in a big way, at least in the first half of this football game.
3.5 sacks for Strahan. A lot of times just threw Runyon out of the way. Oh, those tricky Giants. Tiki Barber back to Kerry Collins. Well-dressed Amani Toomer. And a 7-0 Philly lead at the half. Is now a 7-7 game, early 3rd. 10-7 Giants in the 4th. Donovan McNabb to James Thrash. They won the Monday night game in October, 10-9. 57 yards, and it's a touchdown. 14-10. Dead. 14-13 Ron Dane. Rumbling. 16 yards. Touchdown Giants. They get 2 points. 21-14 to the Eagles. Can they pull it out? McNabb to Thrash. 32 yards down to the 7. Then, next play. McNabb to Lewis. Way! You found the tight end again. Touchdown. 21 all. 3-and-out Giants. 3rd and 1 Eagles. McNabb, first down on a sneak. Strahan holds it down. Tick, 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 but it's a 5-yard delay of game. Giants setting up. David Greenacres from
Louisville.
35 yards. It's good. 11 seconds to go. David Greenacres, 24-21. But with 7 seconds left after the kick return. Wait a minute. Tiki Barber, the pitch to the speed man, Ron Dixon. To the 50, to the 40, to the 30. He could go. Oh my goodness. The division title came down to that play. Dixon stopped just short. But in the end, the Eagles have a tough 2-game sweep of the Giants. And the Eagles win the division for the first time since 1988 under Buddy Ryan. They beat the Giants 24-21. Sean Salisbury with Donovan McNabb.
Well, we wanted to spread the ball around. Chad was a guy that definitely did a great job for us last year. We knew we weren't able to use him a little bit in the first game, so what we did, we tried to get him more involved early. They started to go soft on the coverage. We went deep on them on some of the young corners, and it's a total team effort.
First division championship since 1988. You get Tampa, then you get Tampa again. It's got to be sweet for you.
Well, we're very excited. You know, everyone dogged us all week, dogged us every week for not putting the ball in the end zone as much as they wanted us to. But for to come out and win the NFC East, that's what it's all about.
Donovan, have a great time, final game, and in the playoffs. Thanks for your
we
time.
Got one more game in playoffs after that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Boomer, let's head back to you.
So they win the East. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Donovan. St. Louis has won their division. They haven't clinched the #1 hole. They probably will. Chicago has a 1-game lead, but Green Bay can still catch them for the 2 hole. Philly and Tampa will play for the next 8 weeks, I think. And right now, Green Bay would be 4, San Francisco 5. It would stay that way if they both won next week. When we return, game balls on a definitive day in the NFL.
NFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite. Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time. 10-10-220. Dial it, and all calls up to 20 minutes are only 99 cents.
Boomer, my game ball goes to Marshall. 165 total yards. 4 TDs today, 20 TDs on the season, and he actually missed time this year.
My game ball goes, and congratulations to Trent Dilfer. 3 touchdown passes, and look at this rainbow to your cousin, Mr. Jackson. And Trent Dilfer can get the Seahawks into the playoffs, possibly at the expense of either the Ravens or the Jets. If Marshall won it, and why not? I mean, I understand. John Kitna is second, huh, Tommy?
Well, over 400 yards passing for John Kitna today.
So the NFC playoff is set. Not all the seeds, but the teams are set. The AFC, there's just a little alive. We should say this to all our viewers out there, as they say in the Hawaiian Islands.
Yes.
Haole makahiki ho. Happy New Year from Tom Jackson, from Chris Berman, and all of us at ESPN.